Welcome back to the deep dive. It is Saturday, February 28, 2026. And if you've been watching the intelligence wires this week, you probably feel like the world is just getting louder.
It really is. It's an incredibly noisy week out there.
Right, we're seeing this massive muscle flexing from both Moscow and Beijing. But if we peel back the layers of these updates, the story isn't really about strength at all. It honestly looks a lot more like paranoia.
I completely agree. It's a very weird split-screen moment. Because on the surface, you have this synchronized escalation,
Yep.
Threats of nuclear war and massive naval swarm.
But internally, it's basically a mess,
Oh,
right?
it's a total mess. You have purges, arrests, and this really desperate scramble to lock down information. So our mission today is to figure out if these are actual power moves or just some kind of terrifying theater.
Let's start with the loudest voice in the room, which is definitely Russia. The headlines were totally dominated by this very specific nuclear accusation from the SVR.
Right, so Russian foreign intelligence came out claiming the UK and France are plotting to transfer a TN-75 nuclear warhead to Ukraine.
Hang on, a TN-75? That's a French submarine-launched missile. That seems incredibly specific and frankly bizarre for a conspiracy theory.
Well, specificity sells the lie. Western governments immediately called it out as disinformation. But look at the narrative architecture here. The claim moved instantly from the SVR to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and then straight into state media.
So it wasn't a leak.
Exactly, it was a coordinated scream. They are trying to create leverage before the upcoming U.S.-brokered peace talks. They desperately need the stakes to look nuclear, so the West hesitates.
It's a blatant bluff to get better seats at the table, but what's funny is while they're focused on French submarines, the FSB is apparently freaking out about a messaging app. Why are they suddenly turning on Telegram?
This is where that external toughness just collapses into internal panic. The FSB opened an investigation into Telegram's founder, Pavel Durov, for, quote, assisting terrorist activities. They claim soldiers using the app at the front are risking operational security.
But isn't Telegram basically the main way Russian military bloggers and even the soldiers communicate?
Yes, it is.
If you ban it, don't you just blind your own people?
You do, but you also blind the public.
Yeah.
Right now, the Kremlin clearly cares more about stopping the flow of bad news. Just look at the reality on the ground this week. A strike on the Dorogobuz chemical plant killed 7 people.
Wow.
And Ukraine took out 152 drones in a single night. Russia can't actually stop the physical attacks, so they are flailing and trying to kill the digital messenger instead.
Scream about nukes to hide the fact that you can't even protect a chemical plant in Smolensk. That is a terrible look.
It really is. And this mess is spilling over borders, too. We just saw a Belarusian charged in Poland for recon on NATO infrastructure and a Russian businessman arrested in Belgium for GRU links. It's very frantic hybrid warfare.
So usually when Russia is being loud and messy, we look at China as the disciplined, quiet superpower. But the intel out of Beijing this week suggests disciplined is the wrong word.
Yeah, decapitated is probably closer to the truth. The scale of what is happening inside the PLA is staggering. Since 2022, over 100 senior officers have been removed or gone missing.
Wait, over 100. We aren't talking about mid-level managers here.
Yeah, we are talking about the top brass.
Yeah.
The Central Military Commission has been effectively gutted. At this point, it's basically just President Xi and General Zhang Shengmin left standing.
But how do you even run a military if you fire everyone who knows how the systems actually work?
You don't. Xi is buying political loyalty, but he's selling short-term readiness. You can't purge the leadership of the rocket force and expect your joint operations to run smoothly.
And yet, despite all that paranoia and chaos at the top, they are pushing incredibly hard externally. We saw 30 aircraft tracked around Taiwan.
Right, and a record 200 maritime militia vessels swarming Mischief Reef. That is deep in the disputed South China Sea. It's a way to bully neighbors without firing a shot.
They even surfaced a new Type 09V nuclear attack sub for satellites to see.
Total overcompensation.
Yeah.
They are desperately signaling that despite the purge, the machine keeps moving.
Speaking of the machine moving, I have to ask about this cyber detail. There's a China-linked group, UNC 2814, that compromised over 50 organizations in 42 countries, and they did it using Google Sheets.
It's actually brilliant tradecraft. They use the Google Sheets API as their command and control network.
So if I'm a network defender watching the traffic, I just see data going to Google.
Exactly. It looks like someone updating an expense report. They hide their spy tracks inside the boring office software businesses use every day.
So let's put this whole picture together. We have Russia flailing and screaming about nukes while banning chat apps to hide their military losses.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have China silently purging its own generals while hacking our spreadsheets.
Both nations are following the exact same trajectory. They are tightening authoritarian control at home to mask severe vulnerabilities while ramping up pressure at the edges of open conflict.
Russia screams to hide weakness, and China flexes its navy to hide a hollow command structure.
Which raises a final provocative question for you to consider. If the PLA is purging the very officers who know how to fight modern wars, are these massive military exercises actually a preparation for battle? Or are they just a theater production designed to keep us from noticing the empty seats at the top?
That is a high-stakes question to leave things on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, and we'll catch you next time.